In this video, we're going to go through an introduction to Google Ads. You might have previously heard it called Google AdWords, but now the platform has become Google Ads. It includes video, includes display, some email advertising inside of the Gmail inbox. It includes search advertising on the search engine, and that actually occurs in a few different forms. And so to be simple, to be easy, we're going to just begin with the very most basic type of Google Ads, which is a text-based search ad. Okay, but before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the history of Google's advertising and the pay-per-click model that we know right now. So in 1998, in a TED Talk, the pay-per-click model was first introduced. Now, to a business owner, to a marketer, to anybody who's commanding a budget, pay-per-click seems like a very straightforward and normal model. I'm going to pay for the ad when somebody clicks on the ad. So it's the perfect performance-based advertising. However, previous to PPC ever becoming the methodology, everything was based on impressions. When you would make a purchase on a website, you would actually go to the owner of the website and you would say, I would like to advertise on your site and I would like to buy X number of impressions. And those impressions were typically sold in the thousands. Now, Google's search advertising, the advertising on their search engine, didn't actually start until 1999. But when it did start, it was all sold on a cost per impression or cost per thousand impression basis. So this is something that we refer to as CPM. So the CPM on Google for, say, something like replacement windows was $1. $1 per thousand views. And so what that means is if someone goes to the search engine and types in replacement windows, your ad would show at the top and you would be able to show your ad 1,000 times for basically $1. Now, for the advertiser, this is actually the better bargain. This is the better deal because the percentage of clicks that you're going to get, say you show 1,000 ads and you end up getting 5 clicks and you've only paid $1 for that 1,000 shows, you're actually paying 20 cents per click. And so on a per click basis, that was a better value. The problem is a lot of people are more comfortable only paying when they know they got the click. And so those clicks are being sold for much more. In 2000, October of 2000, Google AdWords was first introduced to the public. So this was the first time you were able to log into a software system, create an ad on your own, put in a credit card, and do advertising on the search engine. And at that time, it was all done, previous to that, it was all done by fax machine, by telephone, by email confirmation. And so early 2002 was when the very first pay-per-click advertising on Google AdWords was in place. And before that, all you could do was cost per thousand. So I was actually advertising on Google back then. I started advertising on Google right when it very first began. I wasn't there in 99, but I was actually there in 2000, 2001. And I remember in those days, especially in 2002, when pay-per-click was introduced as a potential payment model, you had an option to either advertise, okay, I want to advertise for the words replacement window, and I either want to pay for 1,000 impressions for $1, or I could pay just for clicks at 20 cents per click. And it was a little bit of a gamble. You had to decide, would it be a better value to just pay per click, or is it a better value to pay per impression? Now, as soon as Google had the data and they could start determining how many clicks they were getting per 1,000 impressions, they actually set the impression model aside because it was not as lucrative for them. They made a lot more money off of a pay-per-click model because consumers, businesses, advertisers have a tendency to overpay when they're getting a guaranteed click. They're more comfortable with it, and so they're willing to overpay. And so Google ran with that pay-per-click model for some time. So what is Google Ads? So Google is one of many platforms. It's not the only way to advertise on the internet, but it is the focus of these next few videos. But there are a lot of other platforms like Facebook, Instagram. You can advertise on display networks and through display platforms like Simplify, DataZoo, which has just become Roku, MediaMath. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can advertise, and any platform that you go up and you can create a campaign, put in a credit card, and actually issue an order is called a DSP, or demand side platform. So Google Ads, or Google AdWords, is a demand side platform. Now, there's lots of types of demand side platforms, and this one happens to be what's called a real-time bidding platform. And so what you're doing is you're casting a bid. You're saying, I will pay this much for my ad, and Google is showing the impressions, and at the second that somebody does a search and they have a choice to show your ad or somebody else's ad, Google looks at all the bids, sets a price on all the bids, and then shows all the ads based on what has been bid. And at that moment, at the moment the page loads and your ad shows, that's when it's determined exactly what you're going to pay for your ad. So you might say, I'm willing to pay $1 per click, but then when they put it up against all the other bids, they might decide that 85 cents is the actual bid price. Now, it used to be that whatever you put in as your bid, Google would never charge you more than that. But in the last few years, they've started to create things like enhanced bidding. And enhanced bidding literally just means that Google can charge you more because they think that you'll pay more. And so you've got to be very careful with all the settings and all the details. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But the basic principle is that you're placing an ad, you're bidding a price to show your ad for a relevant search, and Google's making a decision on whether or not they're going to show your ad and how high up the food chain they're going to show it. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to decide where they're going to put your ad based on some criteria. That's a demand side platform, and it's a real-time bidding platform. So let's talk specifically about a search campaign. What is a search campaign? Well, ads are going to appear on a search engine as a paid or a sponsored link. And so if I type in a search for replacement window, there's going to be some replacement window companies that show up, and it's going to say right at the top, sponsored. This is a promoted ad. Okay, so that's what a search campaign is. Now, the idea is that the ads are only shown when it's relevant. So theoretically, if I type in wedding dress, it's not going to show my replacement window ads. We only want to show replacement window ads when I'm searching for a replacement window. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. But we're going to get a little deeper into relevance, because relevance is a very fluid term, because there's a little bit of a battle going on with Google. Google wants to show as many ads, as many impressions. They want as much money as they can get out of the search engine. And as an advertiser, we want to get as many clicks as possible. And so Google is constantly blurring this line between what's relevant and what's not relevant. And so we've had many experiences over the years where, me and my team have advertised for something and we've gotten clicks for something completely different. It's just because of these blurred lines of relevance. And we'll get deeper in future videos into how this relevance is calculated. So when you build a search campaign, one of the very first things that you do is you have to choose relevant keywords. So you have to choose what words you want your ad to show for. It's going to be a search term, which is going to be either a single word or a phrase. Now, more words is more specificity, which means it's going to be more accurate to what you want to advertise for. And so it's always better to use more words in your search phrases. Now, when a customer searches for the topic that you've put down as your list of acceptable search terms, the idea is that in an auction format, your ad will be shown against other ads based on who the highest bidder is and based on the quality score. So your ad is put into an instantaneous auction for that particular keyword that somebody is searching for. The person with the highest bid and the highest quality score is who ends up showing up at the very top. And then it's sorted number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, based on bid and quality score, which we'll talk about a little bit more. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to get into kind of campaign basics. We're going to talk about how you structure a campaign and how you organize all of your ads and how you actually put them into a platform. What format do we really need to have everything in? Okay, I'll see you in the next video.